Seth Bullock was a Canadian-American Western sheriff, hardware store owner and U.S. Marshal. Early life. Many of the details of Bullock's early life are lost. He was born in Amherstburg, Canada, west on the Canadian side of the Detroit River. His father, retired British Army Sergeant Major and hero George Bullock, was known to be active in the politics of Sandwich, Canada West. He has been mistakenly believed to have been related to the British General George Bullock, Governor and Commander-in-Chief of Bermuda. However, Lieutenant General Sir George M. Bullock was a boy and young man during Seth's exploits in Deadwood. Seth's mother was a Scotswoman named Anna Findlay Bullock. Apparently not happy at home, his father, a strict disciplinarian known to beat young Seth for minor infractions, Bullock ran away first at age 13, then again at age 16 to Montana to live temporarily with his older sister, Jessie Bullock. By age 18, he had permanently left home. Helena. In 1867, Bullock became a resident of Helena, Montana, where he unsuccessfully ran for the territorial legislature. He was subsequently elected to the territorial Senate, serving in 1871 and 1872 and helped create Yellowstone National Park. In 1873, he was elected sheriff of Lewis and Clark County, Montana. During his tenure as sheriff, he killed his first man, Cleo Watson. Watson had stolen a horse and after a gunfight with Bullock, in which Bullock was slightly wounded in the shoulder, Watson was taken into custody. When Watson was prepared to be hanged, a lynch mob appeared and scared off the executioner. Bullock climbed the scaffold and pulled the lever, sending Watson to his death. Bullock then held off the mob with a shotgun. Around this time, Bullock and Starr opened a hardware store. In August 1876, he and Starr decided an untapped market for hardware existed in the gold rush town of Deadwood in the Dakota Territory. The two purchased a lot in Deadwood and set up shop there as the office of Starr and Bullock, auctioneers and commission merchants, first in a tent and then a building. Deadwood was a lawless, rowdy camp. The day after Bullock's arrival, Wild Bill Hickok was murdered by Jack McCall. McCall shot Hickok in the back of the head while he sat playing poker. McCall was later found not guilty by an impromptu camp court and released, after which he promptly left town. The demand for law enforcement grew following Hickok's murder and Bullock's background made him the logical choice for Deadwood's first sheriff. Bullock took his job seriously, deputizing several residents and tackling the job of civilizing the camp. Despite a reputation for fearlessness and an uncompromising nature, Bullock managed the task without killing anyone. Bullock had several run-ins with Al Swearingen, proprietor of the notorious Gem Theatre, Deadwood's most notable brothel. Swearingen had a knack for making money from vice and shrewdly invested some of his profits in cultivating alliances with the camp's wealthy and powerful. When appointed sheriff, one of Bullock's first duties was to confront Dodge City Deputy Marshal Wyatt Earp, who was possibly interested in the sheriff's job. Bullock told Earp that his services were not needed. A week later Earp left Deadwood to return to Dodge City. Having attained some stability in Deadwood, Bullock brought his wife Martha Eccles Bullock and daughter to town from her parents' home in Michigan, where they had been living during this period. They had one daughter, Margaret, at the time of Martha's arrival in Deadwood, and they subsequently had another daughter, Florence, and a son, Stanley. Bullock and Starr purchased a ranch where Redwater Creek met the Belfrush River and dubbed it the S&B Ranch Company. Bullock is also credited with introducing alfalfa farming to South Dakota in 1881. Later he became a deputy U.S. Marshal, partnered with Starr and Harris Franklin in the Deadwood flouring mill, and invested in mining, the local growth industry. Bullock and Starr eventually expanded their business interests to the towns of Spearfish, Sturgis, and Custer. Bullock met Theodore Roosevelt, then a deputy sheriff from Medora, North Dakota, in 1884 while bringing a horse thief known as Crazy Steve into custody on the range, near what would become the town of Belfrush. The two became lifelong friends, Roosevelt later saying of Bullock, "Seth Bullock is a true Westerner, the finest type of frontiersman." Belfrush and the Bullock Hotel. Bullock and Starr contributed further to the economic development of the region by convincing the Fremont, Elkhorn, and Missouri Valley Railroad to build a track by offering them 40 acres of free right-of-way across their land when a speculator purchased the right-of-way to Minnesota and demanded a high price from the railroad. The railroad built a station 3 miles northwest of Minnesota in 1890, and Bullock and Starr were instrumental in founding the town of Belfort, offering free lots to anyone moving from Minnesota. Belfort became the largest railhead for livestock in the United States, and the county seat was changed from Minnesota to Belfort. Bullock and Starr's hardware store in Deadwood burned down in 1894. Rather than rebuild, they built Deadwood's first hotel on the site, a 3-story, 63-room luxury hotel with steam heat and indoor bathrooms on each floor, at a cost of $40,000. The Bullock Hotel continues to operate to this day, now incorporating a casino. Later life and death. Bullock's friendship with Roosevelt led to his becoming a captain of Troop A in Grigsby's Cavalry Regiment of Roosevelt's Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War. Although the troop never left training camp in Louisiana before the war ended, Bullock still earned the rank of captain. When Roosevelt became vice president under President William McKinley, he appointed Bullock as the first forest supervisor of the Black Hills Reserve. After Roosevelt was elected president, Bullock organized 50 people to ride in the inaugural parade in 1905. Bullock was then appointed U.S. Marshal for South Dakota for the next 9 years. Roosevelt also selected Bullock as one of 18 officers to raise a volunteer infantry division, Roosevelt's World War I Volunteers, for service in France in 1917. Congress gave Roosevelt the authority to raise up to 4 divisions similar to the Rough Riders. However, as Commander-in-Chief, President Woodrow Wilson refused to make use of the volunteers and the unit was disbanded. After Roosevelt's death in January 1919, Bullock created a monument to him with the aid of the Black Hill Pioneers, dedicated on July 4, 1919, on Sheep Mountain, which was renamed Mount Roosevelt. Bullock died of colon cancer shortly thereafter, on September 23, 1919, at his home at 28 Van Buren Street in Deadwood. He is buried in Mount Moriah Cemetery in Deadwood, along with Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane, with his grave facing Mount Roosevelt. Bullock's grave is more than 750 feet away from the main cemetery grounds. In popular culture, Seth Bullock was portrayed by Timothy Olyphant in HBO's TV series Deadwood. References. External links: Historical Deadwood newspaper accounts of Seth and Martha Bullock, Seth Bullock biography, Black Hills Visitor magazine, Seth Bullock, finest type of frontiersman, Legends of America, Seth Bullock at Find a Grave.